to How to Deal When the Shit Gets Real podcast. I'm Marietta.
And I'm Connie, and we are two crazy cousins, because now I'm stuck saying that line. And today we will be talking about conflict and resolution. Why? Well, just look at the news. And just this year in general has been filled with a lot of effing conflict.
Don't worry, we're not going to get political. We're not going to get
This
really...
is not a political...
Yeah, we're not going to do any of that.
We are doing this because the news has inspired us to say something about conflict revolution in our lives.
Not revolution, resolution.
Not revolution, no. I mean, it could be a revolution, you never know, but...
That was hilarious and also kind of appropriate for what's going on.
I guess so.
But yeah, we're not going to get political. We're not going to get too deep into anything that's going on in the news right now. We're just going to give you ways to cope with what's going on. Yeah, what's going on. And because I know Connie and I have both seen it, and I'm sure you guys have seen it a lot. There's a lot of arguing going on right now. There's a lot of disagreeing going on right now. And it's perfectly fine to disagree, but we need to find healthier ways to disagree with each other and still support one another.
Exactly. And I think me and Rietta both, through our family, have just seen conflict a lot.
We've been through a lot. Dun, dun, dun.
Well, it's not necessarily that we've been through a lot, but I've seen a lot. I mean, when you have, 7 aunts and uncles, and they all talk and basically argue, and nobody wants to have or understand or take somebody else's opinion, of course we're going to see a lot of conflict. I can not tell you how many times one aunt would get mad at another and basically storm out.
So basically, you're going to get a lot more family examples, because this wouldn't be our podcast if we weren't giving you more of our lovely family examples.
You know what? For basically our whole lives, so we have a tradition where we go and frost sugar cookies and make other 10 million different kinds of cookies at our grandmother's house. And I swear almost every year somebody is storming off, upset or crying. And it's not necessarily just the adults. I'm pretty sure one of those times it was for sure me.
Yeah, which is sad because it's for Christmas, and we're supposed to be there for Christmas, and poor grandma is just like, everybody stop and behave yourselves, and there's always somebody that's like, I'm leaving, and it's just, we should have a TV show, honestly.
It honestly happened. You have to admit, though, Rietta, like, if you think back, I can't really remember. There's maybe been a handful of Christmases where, you know, at our Christmas cookie decorating where there hasn't been a fight. There's normally at least one person gets upset, and they'll eventually come back and do the cookie decorating sometimes. Sometimes it'll get resolved, and, you know, the person will apologize, it'll calm down, you come back, it's fine. Well, a lot of the times people just left, and it was also fine, because that is definitely their right to get upset and walk away. But there's a lot of Christmas memories like that. But it was fun.
Yes, let's preface that we did have a lot of fun, but there was definitely occasions. I think that was one of the times when one of the aunts wanted my mom to slap me. She's like, no, I don't slap my child. But thank you, though.
Well, I do also remember going into one of the bedrooms crying because I wasn't included or somebody said something mean to me. So I went off crying because that's what I did because I was a child. I still cry. It's fine.
It's fine. And actually, Connie and I just talked about this. This situation or type of situation just happened in our family recently. 2 of the aunts go and hang out with Grandma on Thursday. And it had been going fine for quite a few weeks until some rumor got around. I don't even know if I should call it a rumor. Until it got around that one of the aunts storms out always when she gets mad, which was started by one of the uncles. This is weird without any of the names. I hope this isn't too confusing. But anyway, it got back to said aunt that said uncle said this, and the other aunt that is there with them, you know, the 2 that are together, agreed with her, so then she got pissed, and now she's not going on Thursday anymore.
Yep.
I hope that made sense.
Basically what it boils down to is shit got around, the aunt got pissed, and doesn't come around anymore because of that.
And it was something that was said that happened over 20 years ago. But we're still getting mad about it.
That's our family, if you haven't noticed, guys.
Yes.
They hold on to things.
So, since we talked about it already, so walking away can be one of your resolutions. It's usually not the most recommended. I mean, you absolutely can if you want to walk away, cool off, and come back. I'm usually not a big believer in just walking away because you leave things very open-ended, and the other person usually feels very, what would be the word, Connie? Like cut off.
Cut off or anxious at least. Yeah, it didn't get resolved, so it's like everything seems to be on pause because you're waiting to pick that argument back up again.
Yeah, it's like you didn't get to say your piece. It almost made it seem like their words were more important than your words. So I'm not always a huge fan of the walking away, or maybe just temporarily walking away and coming back to it until you're calmed down. But that is, of course, an option if you don't want to say something you might regret or something like that.
Well, and also the times that I've used walking away, it's mainly because Tom has upset me. I have walked away, and I want him to be the bigger man and come to me and say, hey, let's talk this out. Because, this was your fight. If you want to fight about it, fine. But you have to come find me because I don't want to fight about it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's kind of like the girl thing. Like, I want the man to come after me.
Basically, it kind of is. In certain situations, I'm just like, I'm done arguing with you until you bring it back up again.
Yes. So that is one of the resolution. We're not going to keep saying revolution. It's a resolution option, not the highest one on our list, of course, because especially with everything going on right now, even if you don't agree with somebody, you kind of at least want to be respectful of each other and at least come to terms with each other, which is basically our next thing, agreeing to disagree.
Well, and also, let's pause and say from the get-go that everybody has their own opinions. Like, we should have honestly started the podcast off with, everybody has an opinion, and you need to be able to take that and say, okay, I understand your opinion, and I have a different one. And
yes,
that's okay.
Yes, that's the biggest thing, is to say that it's okay, because I can't count the number of people on my Facebook that are like, how many friends did you delete today? Why do you need to delete friends just because you have a different opinion? You should be able to still be friends and have a different opinion. That doesn't matter. That doesn't make that person any less your friend. You just don't agree on said subject.
And what does Tupac say, Rietta?
Damn it, I'm not ready.
She has a favorite saying from Tupac that is exactly what she just said, and she forgets.
I know. Well, I don't want to mess it up, I want to do him justice. So it's one of my favorites, but it's so true. He says, just because you lost me as a friend doesn't mean you gained me as an enemy. I'm bigger than that. I still want to see you eat, just not at my table.
Exactly, which is very applicable to social media. You can still have a friend on your social media. It doesn't mean that they're your best friend and you're hanging out with them all the time. Because let's face it, that's not really how social media works.
No, and, it's good to have people around you that challenge you. That challenged you to think differently, to see things differently. And that doesn't mean you necessarily have to change how you think or feel, but it's good to have somebody show you the other side.
Yeah, and that's basically my relationship with Tom, because me and him have different political views for most things, because I'm pretty center and he's very right. So he will educate me on something, on right-leaning topics that he follows, and it gets me to consider other things that aren't, to make me more of a center politically leaning anyway.
And even just like Connie and I, and this is the most political we're going to get, guys, we promise, I lean more to the conspiracy side. I'm willing to see some things that people would be like, that's freaking crazy, but I'm willing to listen to it and hear it, and if it makes sense, I will consider it. Where Connie's, like she said, she's more center, like, I could take it or leave it, whatever, but that doesn't make us love each other any less.
Exactly, because I can respect, and she can respect my opinion, and vice versa.
Now, our aunts and our parents, no, well, not parents. It's a little different story. My dad is very even keel. Thank God for him.
I don't think my dad ever really tries to argue with me anymore.
Well, that's good. But my mom and me, for example, obviously we're a very pro-gun family, just like Tom is and Connie is. My husband's in the military, so we're obviously very pro-gun. My mom is totally anti-gun, which is absolutely fine. She has the right to feel however she wants to feel, but she wants to argue with me about it. And I'm like, look, I'm not going to argue with you about it. You feel how you feel. I feel how I feel. And that's how it is. She thinks she's going to change my mind, and it's never going to change.
No. Actually, it's very interesting, though, that I also grew up in an anti-gun household. And now
Surprise.
Yes, I did. And my husband is Mr. Gun. But I like it because when shit's going down, I know he has me, my household protected, and that I don't have to worry. I'm okay with it. But I think it was also because it was, the frog slowly going to boil in water?
Mm-hmm.
Where if you put a frog directly in boiling water, they'll jump out. But if you put a frog in water and gently let it heat up to a boil, they become fine with it. They don't jump out. That was me with guns because it happened very slowly over 7 years.
Well, that was a fun analogy.
You're welcome. You like that analogy?
To our vegans, we're sorry. She didn't mean it.
It's an analogy. I'm not actually over here boiling frogs because gross, okay? I mean, Tom might enjoy it, but gross for me. But yeah, it was basically a slow boil with that me becoming more towards gun rights.
My mom obviously always was anti-gun, just like that was just their family. But my dad, but my dad never was. So I kind of always had the balancing point. Yeah, so.
And then when you married a military man, like if your husband was a different person who really wasn't into guns, you probably would get over it a little bit.
Well, and I was in ROTC myself, and I've shot a lot of weapons, so I was pretty comfortable before Kyle came along, and now I'm even more comfortable, and I continue to get comfortable, so, because, it's a never-ending learning process, but, yeah. But that's one of those situations where Connie, this is actually another point that Connie was going to make, and it kind of rolls into that sometimes you just agree to end the argument. And not even necessarily agree, but you just kind of shake your head and go, to just end the argument.
Yeah, because I would do that a lot with uncles and aunts who had a specific opinion that I didn't agree with, because we both grew up, really, in a household that doesn't particularly take other people's opinions very well. And I considered our aunts and uncles to be more knowledgeable when I was younger than myself. Mm-hmm. Okay, I would say I agree with you. Sure, cool. Tell me more, whatever. Even if I don't really agree. I'm saying it because I'm not arguing with you, and I know your opinion is never going to change. Because you're my family, and I have seen this my whole entire life. I know none of you will change your opinion. So I am not going to try.
Which I think plays into another kind of idea. I'm not a huge fan of Dr. Phil, but there are a couple things that he said that I agree with, or that I like. And one of the things that he says is, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? And I think when it comes to our aunts and uncles, they want to be right, and it doesn't matter.
And thus why I agree to make everybody happy. So that one thing turns into another thing, and voila, happy family.
And I think we're seeing a lot of that right now, too. People are so fired up about a lot of stuff that is going on, which is great that people are passionate about what's going on. But I think some people are too focused on being right. And it's not about being right. It's about getting your opinion out there, but still respecting other people's opinions and knowing that that's okay, like we said. I think even sometimes I get stuck there where you you get so like fired up and passionate about something, because I think that is one thing that is good in our family is we are very passionate souls. So you get very passionate about something and you get so focused that you want the other person to be as passionate as you are.
And you don't. That just doesn't happen.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just not going to happen because they don't agree with you. But you're just so like, oh, come on, like get on my side, that you're just all over the place.
Well, and you have to admit that's basically what's happening right now. That people want other people to be fired up about it and agree with them. And let's also talk about, when there are larger social conflicts that need laws and more support, that is when you protest. And that's good because you're trying to make a social change. And that is another form of resolution. But obviously at a family's house, you're not be like, I'm going to protest for the July party. It doesn't work like that when you're just with a few people. But for these larger...
It might work.
Let's try, Arietta. Next family party, we're going to protest, walk around with signs. I don't know what we're going to protest, but we'll protest it.
We're going to protest the cookie making party.
No. I like it too much, and I don't want to hurt Grandma, because that's the only person you'd be hurting at that point.
That's true. And that's true. And we're totally kidding, by the way. Like, we're not taking away from actual protests, because we both...
Obviously joking. I laughed.
Yeah. Just to clarify for anybody that's like, oh my God, they're being insensitive. We totally are on board with the protests that are happening right now, just by the by. The end.
That's how social changes and movements happen. It's people protesting. And that is a way to get a resolution.
Yes.
Something you can just talk and make a change.
Right. The only thing that I wish was happening a little better right now is that we wouldn't let the media... we put so much weight on the media, which the media isn't even always right most of the time. I was even going to say half the time, but I'm not even going to give them half the time. They're not even right most of the time. And we could prove them wrong if we would walk together instead of letting this rip us apart. If we would all just come together and support, this would be amazing. Like, think of the amazing things we could do.
Well, and also, media tends to make things seem more divisive than they actually are. Because of the fact it is that, you know what the news wants? They want your views. They want your rating. Why? They need to make everything look like there's a divide, even though there's more than likely not.
Right, and they're going to show you the bad stuff before they show you the good stuff.
Yeah, Tom was just telling me about that.
Because there is good stuff happening right now if you look for it. There are people defending cops. There are cops walking with other people. Like, it is happening. We're just not seeing it. And because we're not seeing it, people are like, well, nobody gives a shit. But we do give a shit. It's just not showing because the media sucks, basically.
And because you're getting all of your information from the media... Actually, this is I don't know if you'll find this interesting. Tom was thinking about just joining Twitter because he thought that a lot of people's Twitter posts were more helpful than the media.
Oh, yeah, Twitter. I have Twitter only basically because it was to help my book when I get it out. Like, it is actually one of the best ways to connect with people. And when I do scroll through my Twitter, I definitely feel like the posts are more helpful. Now, granted, it is still a form of social media. It's still not 100% accurate, but it's definitely better than Instagram and Facebook.
Actually really doing it because there were reports of looting near us. Well, where? Where is it? Where should I avoid? What's going on? Are they coming towards us or not? Ready should I be? And he was looking at people in Romeoville and their posts to kind of monitor the situation. I think at that point is more helpful than there's no minute by minute news saying, and we have looters going down the street from Connie and Tom's house or whatever. Obviously they would not say that, but you don't really have that minute-by-minute report. It's normally hours until you get full report of exactly what happened, and by then, that's too late.
And a lot of times that report that you do finally get is not completely accurate either. So.
Well, but for local news, we use the Patch, and that's pretty accurate.
Well, yeah, the Patch is pretty much just straight from police, so yes.
Yeah, exactly. That's what Tom would look at for something like this, but that still wouldn't be posted an hour, if not days later.
Right. Usually the only news that I really watch is PBS NewsHour, because it's the least biased, in my opinion. They usually report from both sides, where like CNN and Fox News and all that are just redonkulous.
Yeah, and there's also a certain point where you're not necessarily ever going to get 100% the facts. You have to see both sides of any story and think about it and make your own mind up.
Yes.
And the hope is that you're not letting, I think you shouldn't let media control you so much and your opinion so much. Because I think when I was younger, used to be that way, where I'd be like, no, what are you talking about? That's bullshit. The media said this.
You're more heavily influenced when you're younger.
Yeah. And now I kind of try to make up my own mind of what is right and what is wrong and see both sides, whatever's going on.
Which is what we should all be doing right now. We may have different opinions, or we may feel differently, or see things differently, whatever it may be, but we still need to respect each other.
You did make a great point, though, that, man, could you imagine if everybody stood together? Holy shit.
Oh, we could do incredible things if we could all come together.
But we let little things, the media and social media, not rip us apart, but at least give us all more distance from each other.
It definitely influences us, for sure. And I saw a great quote the other day that I read to Connie earlier that just said that I'm not saying we all have to love each other. I'm not saying we all have to agree with each other. I'm not even saying we have to like each other, but let's respect each other. And that's a huge thing, because it's true. We don't have to be best friends to walk together. I don't even have to know you, but we can still do it.
Yeah, and you can still at minimum, respect each other's opinions, even if you know it's wrong.
Exactly. Even if you feel it's wrong or you feel differently about it, it doesn't make you right and them wrong or them right and you wrong. It just makes you different. And, our experiences shape us, too. What we've experienced is going to be different than somebody else's experience and why they feel differently. And we have no way to know when we've never experienced what they've experienced.
Yeah, everybody has a different life lens, is how I remember one of my teachers.
I like that.
I remember one of my social media, not social media, wow. It's because I've been saying social media way too much in this podcast. Sociology professors saying that everybody has a different life lens, that you see everything through like those rose-colored glasses when you're in love, right?
Yeah, I like that. Life lens. That's a good one.
Anytime. And you can thank one of my college professors, and I don't know who.
Well, that's all right.
So another resolution that we didn't really touch on yet is that me and Rietta both said that we are like this. It comes down to always kiss me goodnight. That's the sign that Rietta has over her bed. But basically, don't go to bed angry. And we both said that at night, if we ever got into a fight with our significant others, it's like, nope, we are resolving this now or else I'm not going to get any sleep. We have to talk this out, we have to kiss, and then we have to go to bed, and that's that.
And we both also agreed that only applies to our significant other. Like if it was our mom or somebody, it would be like, okay, whatever, we'll hash it out in the morning. But with your significant other, I think because you are in the same house and it just becomes freaking awkward when you're not talking to each other, that we both feel that let's just get this over with, hash it out, figure out what the deal is, and go to sleep good.
And honestly, a lot of the times, the arguments at night are just so ridiculous, and it honestly is mainly because we're tired.
I was going to say, you're too tired. Yeah.
We hardly ever get into, like, serious fights where we're just not going to talk to each other anymore. Most of the time it's something like ridiculous and you just need to talk. Just feel like, admit you were wrong, like, or whatever.
Yeah,
just
yeah.
Get over it. Like, come on. Stop being ridiculous.
As Meghan Trainor says, just apologize.
Exactly. And that's what we do. We just apologize and, and we don't go to bed angry. Definitely not worth it.
I think
our arguments are so stupid.
You should. It'd be funny. I think the only time that Kyle and I really argue is usually is, like Connie said, because of something else. Like, he's got something ridiculous going on at work and it's hanging over him, and then he takes it out on me, not on purpose, but just, it just comes out because he's frustrated, and then of course I'm like, what the hell? Like, I didn't do anything. Why are you meow at me?
Oh, no, I call Tom out on it like nobody's business. I'm like, hey, because, like, he'll tell me, he'll message Tom, and he starts snapping. I'm like, hey, I know you had a shitty day at work. Don't you dare take it out on me. You go lay down and relax or something else, but don't get pissy with me. Actually, one morning I woke him up because it was like 11 o'clock, and he worked till midnight. He worked overtime. I woke him up at 11, and he got like a little pissy. I'm like, no. Go drink your coffee. Come back to me when you're feeling better.
Come back to me when the caffeine is kicked in.
Exactly. I was like, no.
I will tell him too, but I usually start off with like, hey, you just got home. What's going on? Why are you? What happened that you're taking out on me right now? Like, what's going on? What's happening? Because no, I'm not making you dinner.
Yeah.
Not really. I wouldn't do that to him. But I'm like, what's really going on?
I'll just make dinner angrily. Oh.
Yes. I will slam all the cabinets. You will know I'm here.
Well, actually, that is the way a family member does get out their anger.
Yeah.
I know.
Several of them, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Slam in the drawers, and they're just going to go until some sort of resolution.
It's funny, though, because Grandma is not like that at all. Like, any of these traits. Grandma doesn't have any of these traits.
Well, I think what I was told when I was younger, not about Grandma Shrink, about my other grandma, is basically like, you don't know how they were when you were not around, when they were younger with all the kids. I mean, we see her as Grandma who has calmed down because she is 90, has a shit ton of grandkids and great-grandkids, and she doesn't have really much to be mad about. She's probably was still a lot more mellow then because she already did her job. She raised her kids. Now it's the fun time with hanging out with the grandkids.
I still don't think she was ever an aggressive presence. Grandpa was the aggressive presence. Grandma never was. But I think they just,
that's probably true.
Because there was so many of them and Grandma worked and Grandpa worked 2 jobs, they were just alone a lot and they fought with each other a lot and it just never went away.
Yeah, and they just kind of they became that person.
They're still arguing. Yeah, they're still arguing later in life. So don't be that person. Don't just constantly argue. Hash it out with your family and your loved ones and your friends. And
honestly, that's what we could say, though, that there are a lot of aunts and uncles in our family that they just never had the chance to talk it out, so they still hold on to these things because it was kept inside all this time, so they bring it up again still after 20, 30 years.
Which is another...
That's not healthy, okay? It's all I gotta say.
No, it's not. It's definitely not healthy, and that brings up another perfect point of there's no point in holding a grudge because the only person it's hurting is yourself. Holding a grudge does not have an impact on the other person at all. All it does is make you feel like shit.
Yep.
So just let it go. Let it go.
Oh, God. Stop it. My ears, they're bleeding.
You know what's sad? I've never even seen that movie. And that's the only words I know. So you're welcome.
I have seen both movies because I am a child and I at least have to watch it once. Is my frame of mind for Disney anyway. Sorry.
I have to say, I love Moana. That's one of my favorites.
Really? It
Mhm.
was alright.
I love it. There's another one coming out.
Oh, is there?
Sorry, there's our little sidetrack of Disney movies, y'all.
I just still love all of the classic ones. But anyway, let's.
Oh yeah, of course.
Hey, you know what Disney shows great? They conflict resolution.
Which one?
All of them.
That's true. You know what? Actually,
it's not necessarily the most practical resolutions. Like, it's not normally things that you're going to come across. I don't think anybody's going to go and defeat Jafar or anything like that. And nobody's a prince taking over Pride Rock. So, I mean, but it does show conflict resolution. Therefore, Disney ties back. And the end. See?
Maybe,
I made it all come together.
Maybe, though, that's why we are better at it. Because at least when I was younger, the shows that were on, regular shows, showed a lot of conflict resolution. Full House, Home Improvement, Boy Meets World. Those all showed moments.
Yep.
But when you think about it, there's not really much on like that anymore.
Oh, they have Fuller House.
Yeah, Fuller House is back. But, I mean, really, aside from that, there's not really much else.
You know what, though? I feel like I'm not a very good gauge of that. Because, okay, we were younger when we were watching those shows, right? And have a child watching things that I then have to watch. So, like, how I wouldn't have a great gauge. I only watch things that I'm interested in. And let me tell you, they're not about conflict resolution. They're more about killing and stabbing and down with the government. I don't know. Just different things.
But see, that's the point. A lot of the main things that most of us are watching right now are more toward the violent side. And I do have a child. I mean, granted, he's not super old yet. But he does watch Fuller House, which is great. But, I mean, a lot of the other stuff is like Power Rangers and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And I guess maybe they're solving little conflicts. But the nice thing about, like, Home Improvement and Full House and stuff like that is they were a family working on family issues, which is what everybody deals with.
But we forgot Last Man Standing. That one's out right now.
Oh, I've never seen that, so maybe that's a good one.
Oh, Last Man Standing is really good until they rebooted it. And then it sucked because they got rid of this main girl. So, but it's still a very good series. It's on Hulu.
Is that the new one with Tim Allen?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love Tim Allen. Okay. I mean,
I guess to watch that. Put it on your list.
And I guess some of the movies, the Santa Claus and stuff like that, are showing like divorce and conflict resolution, but most of our mainstream TV shows are nudity and violence and stuff like that.
We're also looking at through our lens.
Very true.
This is what we like to watch. I think there was like a new one on Netflix called Magnolia, and that seems more of a wholesome, about like 3 girlfriends opening up a spa together. More wholesome, but I'm not interested in that, so I don't watch it.
Okay, I guess that's true. Oh, there is This Is Us. This Is Us does show some of that. I mean, there's a lot of other drama and stuff going on, but that's probably one of the few, like, feel-good shows that I could think of. And damn that show, it makes me cry every freaking week, but I love it.
And see, that's the thing, is if you were looking at this through my lens and possibly your lens, we're not actively seeking that kind of entertainment out. Is it possible that a lot of people are like that? Yes.
I just think the main point I was thinking of, though, is those shows were mainstream shows. Like, most people watched Home Improvement and Full House and Boy Meets World. Like, those were like the shows that everybody was watching for a while.
But think about how limited your shows were.
They were a lot more limited.
You didn't have Hulu, Netflix, Disney Plus all of your regular TV channels. Now there's and there's HBO, and then there's Apple
There's too many
TV,
options. Too many options.
And there's Facebook TV and YouTube TV, and it's crazy. But now you can literally watch anything your heart desires, honestly.
It just shows the changes, though, if you think about it, because, like, my dad used to watch Leave It to Beaver, which was the classic everybody wanted to
1950s
be,
household.
yep, everybody wanted to be like that. That was like the standard. And then we went to like Home Improvement, and it got a little, more open, and there was swearing, and it got a little better. And it just shows you kind of the progression as how things have changed.
Yeah, because now you can watch literally anything under the sun.
Yeah, exactly.
And thus why there's so many like parental controls and stuff like that.
Oh my God.
Because you could get access to anything. Like a kid nowadays understands technology and could get a hold of anything. Why you need the more parental controls, because you don't want them to watch Game of Thrones when they're 10.
Nope, definitely not. So, yeah, that was our main thing. That don't forget those basic things that you learned from Home Improvement and Full House, even though they seemed very sappy and corny. They're kind of important because it's how we face things in the world and how we agree to disagree or solve issues within our family. Like, don't be like our family that hangs on to stuff for 20 years. Hash that shit out, get it out there, talk it out. Even if you don't agree about it, you can at least get it out on the table and at least come to a mutual understanding between the two of you.
And even one last point is, say you are holding on to stuff from 20, 30 years ago, go to a therapist.
Yes.
Because there's definitely an underlying reason why you're still holding on to it. Get a therapist.
Yeah, no. And like I have talked about before too, anybody and everybody could benefit from a therapist. I know there's a lot of cliche behind it, and I've talked about this on here before. It does not mean you're psycho, you're messed up, you're bad. It is just somebody to help you hash out whatever you can't hash out on your own. And it's not a bad thing.
Maybe everybody needs just a therapist nowadays.
Everybody could use a therapist.
Honestly.
And I think one final point we should make, just because we're both married and divorce is kind of high. I mean, it's gotten a little better, but...
Oh, has it? I don't
know. Whatever. The point is, where I was going with this is, you got married for a reason. Be open with your spouse. Talk to each other. Agree to disagree sometimes if you need to. Hash it out. Just have the walls of communication open, like we've talked about in our relationship pillars. And just don't go to bed angry. Kiss each other goodnight.
And some of that stuff is also applicable to other relationships. but not the
yes.
Just the be good to one another is.
There you go. I like that. Yes, let's finish with that. Be good to each other.
Yeah, in the end. That is your conflict resolution podcast. Have a good day, morning, evening, night.
All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. I'm Rietta.
I'm Connie.
And thank you for listening.